Now tonight I want to do something a little bit different. A lot of people have questions about being saved, and there's this big thing going around about, it's been going around forever. I'm talking like it's brand new, but it's been going around about like Christ versus Christ consciousness, the battle between did he really exist, or is it just a frequency of righteousness or whatever that you tap into. I'm gonna do it a little bit different tonight, but I got a question about that, and I got an explanation for it. So let's argue.
Hi, my name is Anthony. A lot of people know me as Big Bake. I am a father, a Prince Hall Mason, an artist, a veteran, and some will call me very opinionated. I created this podcast because I would like to have high-level, healthy conversations on a variety of topics such as relationships, religion, and politics. No topic is off limits. In this space, all opinions matter. Now, with that being said, let's argue.
I came to a realization. Moms must think I'm dumb. Running lines. And it only made your nose numb. Cause I'm Big Bake with the flow. Throwing bolos. You ride bench and I'm bow nose. Two sport gang.
Alright, so I got a question. How did you know you were saved? Or, if you don't believe in that, how do you know if you tapped into the Christ consciousness? So the answer that I have to that question, well, to both questions, is the first part is I believe that Christ walked the earth. Definitely. Also believe that he has a bloodline, and that bloodline is sacred, and that's part of the reason why a lot of things are going on behind the scenes, but that's a whole different podcast. The second part of that is I also, when I was very young, got tapped into the Christ consciousness. And I'll tell you how. I'll never forget it. We lived in apartment 128 in Parkside Apartments. It was the last apartment right by the Turtle, sitting by the street, the road. If people knew what that was, you know what I'm saying? Anybody that's from the area would know exactly what I'm talking about. That Turtle's not there anymore, but that's what was there when I was a kid. And I was next door. I was over my next door neighbor's house, and they was playing Christian. We was doing some children's Christian stuff. I think we was like listening to music and stuff, and something came over me. So in that process of literally being saved, I actually tapped into the frequency of the Christ consciousness. At that time, I remember I was crying. I was in tears. I started crying for no reason. Well, because I had tapped into the Christ consciousness. And I said that I believe in God and that Jesus is the Savior. And, I took the oath. I did that. And from that point is when, after that situation happened, like it was a thing, I cried. Okay, we got back out. I think we stopped listening to the music and stuff eventually, and we was playing and stuff. And I went home or whatever, like a regular kid. After that is when things got weird. Stuff started happening that I couldn't really explain well as a child. I can only explain it as a child, but as an adult, it's very clear to me because I still remember this stuff. It was crazy. One of the things that happened was I had a couple reoccurring dreams about a church that I went to. And one of the reoccurring dreams was that in a single file line, what will go to the church is giant spiders, giant roaches, giant mice, and just bottom feeder creatures that would single file into the church. And literally that was the dream. Now, the second dream that I had was that people would the church was always packed in the dream, but it was weird. Now, this one was kind of weird. The scene was crazy because the preacher at the time, what he was doing was he was in, I'll just say, like the day room. It was huge. It was like a huge day room where the banquets and stuff was held at. And people going into the church would stand in line, and there was these big vacuums that came from the ceiling. and they were all like in rows, and people would willingly walk up to them and have the life sucked out of them. So when they got from up under it, they were zombies. And that dream was reoccurring as well. But it didn't happen as frequently as the first one, as the single file of bottom feeders that would pack the church out. Now, to be totally fair, things like supernatural stuff would happen to me ever since I can remember. I can tell you stuff from when I was 1-2 years old that I actually still remember. But once I tapped into the Christ consciousness, what happened was they increased in frequency. Another thing that happened to me was, for a while it went away, but for a while I could understand the birds. I couldn't understand them like as in they would talk to me like with a language, but they would wake me up for school. The birds will wake me up for school. That's what happened. And ever since I was a kid, ever since I was really young, adults would tell me their problems. They would talk to me. We would have grown conversations. And it was like I understood. But I did. It's nuts. It wasn't judgmental. I didn't think it was weird. People would just talk to me. And that was definitely after I tapped into the Christ consciousness, for sure. To even get more in depth about it, you can if you know my mom, or if you know my aunt or any of my uncles, they'll tell you, because they always thought that it was weird that adults would talk to me and tell me their problems, or just talk to me like I'm an adult. That was a joke for decades. I mean, like, everybody like, dang, Aunt, you know what I mean? That happened. But that's a couple of my many stories, and I'm gonna come back and tell you more, because I don't know, I've been wanting to tell these stories. So I also want you to do the same. I mean, tell me what happened to you that was significant that you really couldn't explain, or that you didn't understand at the time, or you know what I mean? Anything that have to do with you tapping into the Christ consciousness. Do you believe that Jesus walked the earth? Let me know in the comments. Let's argue. I'll argue back.